Have you ever felt like your prayers are just words floating into an empty sky? Have you ever knelt down and cried out for a child who has turned away from God, from you, from everything that once seemed sacred, only to wonder if anyone is really listening? There is a mother somewhere tonight, praying through tears she can barely control, whispering a name that feels heavy with sorrow. And perhaps that mother is you. Perhaps you have watched your son or daughter walk away from the faith, sink into choices that break your heart, become someone you no longer recognize, and the question burns inside you. Does God see? Does he care? Is there any hope left? The answer might surprise you, because according to Saint Teresa of Avila, one of the greatest mystics the Church has ever known, there is a day when the heavens open in a very special way. A day when a mother's cry does not just reach God, it moves him. A day when Mary herself, the Immaculate Mother, takes that prayer and carries it with a power no human tongue can fully explain. That day is the feast of the Immaculate Conception. And what happens in heaven on that day, when a mother prays for a lost child, is nothing short of miraculous. Saint Teresa understood something profound about the heart of a mother. She saw it as one of the purest reflections of God's own love on earth. A mother's love does not give up. It does not abandon. It does not stop hoping, even when hope seems foolish. Even when the child is far away, even when years pass without change, even when the silence feels unbearable, a mother still prays. And according to Teresa, that kind of love has weight in heaven. It has substance. It moves the heart of God in ways that other prayers cannot. She once wrote that nothing is more powerful before God than love that intercedes with pain. And there is no pain more pure, more relentless, more beautiful than the pain of a mother praying for a child who is lost. That pain is not weakness. It is not failure. It is the echo of God's own heart, breaking over his lost children. And on the feast of the Immaculate Conception, when the Church celebrates the singular purity of Mary, preserved from all sin from the first moment of her existence, something extraordinary takes place in the spiritual realm. The Immaculate Conception is not just a celebration of a theological truth. It is a day when heaven itself seems to lean closer to earth. It is the day when the Church contemplates Mary as she truly is, the woman chosen before time began, the one who would crush the head of the serpent, the one who was fashioned by God to be a perfect vessel of grace. And Saint Teresa believed that on this day, Mary exercises a special kind of intercession. She called Mary the door through which God came into the world, and the door through which all grace comes to us. And on the feast of the Immaculate Conception, Teresa said, that door shines brighter than ever. It is as if the entire heavenly court turns its gaze toward the Immaculate Mother, and in that moment, the prayers that are offered through her gain a unique power, especially the prayers of a mother on earth, crying out for her child. Because Mary knows what it means to stand at a distance and watch a beloved child suffer. She knows what it means to pray when everything seems lost. And on this day, she is especially attentive to the cries of mothers who are going through the same agony she once endured. So what actually happens in heaven when you, a mother, kneel down on December 8th and pour out your heart for your lost son or daughter? According to the mystical tradition that Saint Teresa lived and breathed, several things begin to unfold in the spiritual realm. First, Mary herself takes your prayer into her hands. She does not simply hear it and pass it along. She receives it as if it were her own. She holds the name of your child as if he or she were her own child. And she presents that name to her son with a tenderness and urgency that only a mother can express. The angels, who are always attentive to the prayers of the faithful, intensify their song of praise to the Immaculate Mother. The heavenly court recognizes the singular honor of this day, and the intercession that flows through Mary becomes even more potent. Divine mercy, which is always available, seems to flow with greater intensity toward families that are wounded, toward hearts that are hardened, toward souls that have wandered far from home. Graces that seemed blocked, prayers that seemed unanswered, begin to move. The spiritual darkness that surrounds your lost child starts to weaken. Not because you have done something to deserve it, but because on this day, the Immaculate Mother exercises her maternal power in a way that is both gentle and irresistible. Teresa believed deeply in what she called times of grace, moments in the liturgical year when God pours out his blessings with special abundance, and she taught that the feast of the Immaculate Conception is one of those moments. It is a day when Mary receives greater honor, greater glory, and greater freedom to distribute graces to her children. This does not mean that Mary is inactive on other days. She is always interceding, always loving, always drawing souls to her Son. But on this particular feast, the Church teaches and the mystics confirm, her intercession reaches a level of efficacy that is uniquely powerful. Think of it this way. Imagine a mother standing at the bedside of a sick child. She is always there, always caring, always praying. But there are moments when the doctor gives her permission to administer a life-saving treatment. In those moments, her presence becomes not just comforting, but decisive. That is what happens spiritually on the Immaculate Conception. Mary is given, by God's own design, a special capacity to dispense the graces that have been stored up for the salvation of souls. And when a mother on earth cries out on this day, Mary does not hesitate. She acts. Now you might be wondering, what does that actually look like for my child? If Mary is interceding, if heaven is moving, what is happening in the life of the son or daughter I am praying for? According to Saint Teresa, even if your child does not know it, even if he or she feels nothing, something profound is taking place in the spiritual realm. Mary begins to take your child by the hand. Not physically, of course, but spiritually. She starts to surround that soul with her maternal protection. She shields them from dangers they do not even see. She touches their conscience in ways they cannot explain. She places the right people in their path. She removes obstacles that would have led to greater harm. She inspires sudden thoughts, fleeting memories, moments of nostalgia for God. Your child might be far away, cold, rebellious, hardened by sin and bitterness. But Mary does not abandon those who are entrusted to her. Teresa used to say that the Mother of God enters where no one else can enter and reaches what no one else can reach. She does not force, she does not manipulate, but she works quietly, persistently, lovingly. And the prayer you offer on the feast of the Immaculate Conception becomes a key that unlocks doors in your child's soul that have been closed for years. There is another profound truth that Saint Teresa understood about intercessory prayer. She taught that when a mother prays for a lost child, God does not just hear the words. He sees the love behind them. He sees the tears, the sleepless nights, the anguish that no one else knows about, and he transforms that suffering into grace. Teresa called the tears of a mother liquid gold before God. She said that a mother's sorrow, when offered in prayer, becomes a precious sacrifice that God cannot refuse. On the feast of the Immaculate Conception, when you cry out to Mary for your child, she takes your pain and presents it to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. She unites your tears with her own tears, the tears she shed at the foot of the cross. And together, those tears become an offering so beautiful, so powerful, that heaven cannot ignore it. Your suffering is not wasted. Your sorrow is not meaningless. It is being transformed right now into the very grace that will one day bring your child home. But here is where faith becomes difficult. Because all of this happens in silence. You do not see the results immediately. You do not wake up the next morning to find your child suddenly converted, suddenly calling you to say everything has changed. God does not work that way. He does not perform magic tricks to satisfy our need for instant reassurance. Instead, he works the way a master craftsman works, slowly, carefully, shaping a soul over time. Saint Teresa compared God's work in the soul to a gardener tending a garden. You do not see the seeds sprouting the moment you plant them. You do not see the roots growing beneath the soil. But the gardener knows. The gardener trusts the process. And that is what you are being called to do. Trust the process. Trust that on the day of the Immaculate Conception, when you prayed with all your heart, something real happened in heaven. Trust that Mary took your child into her care. Trust that graces were set in motion that will unfold in God's perfect timing. Your job is not to control the outcome. Your job is to keep praying, keep trusting, keep offering your pain as a gift of love. According to Teresa, one of the most powerful effects of a mother's prayer on the Immaculate Conception is what she called secret lights of grace. These are small, almost imperceptible touches of the Holy Spirit that begin to awaken something in the soul of the lost child. Your son or daughter might not be aware of what is happening. They might not even believe in God anymore. But suddenly, inexplicably, they feel a twinge of discomfort about the life they are living. A memory surfaces of a time when they prayed, a time when they felt close to God. A song they used to sing in church plays in their mind out of nowhere. A conversation with a stranger leaves them feeling strangely unsettled. These are not coincidences. These are the secret lights that Saint Teresa spoke about. They are the Holy Spirit beginning to break through the hardness, the coldness, the rebellion, and they are the direct result of your prayers. The lost child might ignore these lights. They might resist them, push them away, try to drown them out with distractions. But once a light has been lit, it never fully goes out. It stays there, glowing quietly, waiting for the moment when the soul is finally ready to turn toward it. You need to understand something important. The prayer you offer on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception does not just ask God to do something. It sets in motion a divine plan that unfolds over time. Think of it like this. Imagine you are planting a tree. The moment you place the seed in the ground, you have done something real. You have initiated a process. But the tree does not appear overnight. It grows slowly, invisibly at first, sending roots deep into the earth before it ever breaks through the surface. The same is true with your prayer. On December 8th, when you entrust your child to Mary, you are planting a seed of grace in the spiritual realm. Heaven begins to prepare the moment of return. God starts arranging circumstances, conversations, encounters, trials, even sufferings that will eventually lead your child back to Him. None of it is random. None of it is accidental. All of it is part of a divine plan that was set in motion the moment you prayed. Saint Teresa used to say that God moves in silence until the day when the soul finally returns to Him. And that day will come. It might not be tomorrow. It might not be next year. But it will come. Because a mother's prayer, offered through the hands of the Immaculate Mother, has a power that cannot be stopped. Now let's talk about something that Teresa emphasized again and again in her writings. The importance of perseverance. Because here is the truth. You will be tempted to give up. You will be tempted to think that your prayers are not working. You will see your child continue to make destructive choices. You will watch as they sink deeper into sin, deeper into confusion, deeper into pain, and you will wonder if God is really listening. This is where faith becomes a battle. This is where you have to decide whether you believe what the Church teaches about prayer, about Mary, about the power of intercession. Because if you give up, if you stop praying, you are cutting off the flow of grace that heaven is trying to send to your child. Saint Teresa would tell you this: do not judge the power of your prayer by what you see. Judge it by what you cannot see. Judge it by the fact that God has promised to honor the cries of a mother's heart. Judge it by the truth that Mary never abandons those who call on her. Keep praying, keep offering, keep trusting, even when it feels useless, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because in the spiritual realm, everything is changing. The battle is being won, one small victory at a time. There is a beautiful mystery in the way God answers prayers for lost children. He does not always answer in the way we expect. He does not always bring the child home when we want, or how we want, or in the condition we want. Sometimes the child has to hit rock bottom before they are finally ready to turn back to God. Sometimes they have to experience the full weight of their choices before they understand what they have lost. And that can be agonizing for a mother to watch. But here is what you need to hold on to. Even in the darkest moments, even when your child is at their lowest point, Mary is still there. She is still holding them. She is still protecting them from the worst. She is still preparing the way for their return. And when the moment finally comes, when your child finally turns their face back toward God, you will see that every tear you cried, every prayer you offered, every night you spent in anguish, was part of the plan. It was all building toward this moment, and you will understand, perhaps for the first time, that your prayers were never in vain. Saint Teresa taught that God's timing is perfect, even when it does not make sense to us. She said that God sees the entire story from beginning to end, while we only see one page at a time. He knows exactly when the soul is ready. He knows exactly what needs to happen to break through the pride, the fear, the stubbornness. And He is orchestrating everything with infinite wisdom and infinite love. So when you pray on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, you are not just asking God to save your child. You are placing your child into the hands of the one person who loves them even more than you do. You are entrusting them to Mary, who knows better than anyone how to guide a soul back to her Son. And you are surrendering your timeline, your expectations, your need for control, and allowing God to work in His way and in His time. This is not easy. This is, in fact, one of the hardest things a mother will ever do, but it is also one of the most powerful. Because when you let go and let God work, you make space for miracles. Here is something that might encourage you. The Church is filled with stories of saints whose lives were transformed because of a mother's prayers. Saint Augustine, one of the greatest theologians in Christian history, spent years living a life of sin and rebellion. His mother, Saint Monica, prayed for him without ceasing. She wept. She fasted. She begged God to bring her son back to the faith. And for a long time, it seemed like nothing was happening. Augustine continued to pursue pleasure, continued to reject God, continued to break his mother's heart. But Monica did not stop praying. And finally, after years of intercession, Augustine encountered the grace of God in a garden in Milan. He heard a voice telling him to take up and read the scriptures. And in that moment, his heart was changed forever. He became not just a Christian, but a saint, a doctor of the Church, a man whose writings have shaped the faith of millions. And it all started with a mother who refused to give up. Your story might not end with your child becoming a saint, but it will end with grace. It will end with God's mercy having the final word. Do you know what the enemy wants you to believe right now? He wants you to believe that it is too late. He wants you to believe that your child is too far gone, too hardened, too lost. He wants you to give up hope, to stop praying, to resign yourself to despair. But that is a lie from the pit of hell, and you need to reject it with everything in you. Because here is the truth. No one is ever too far gone for God. No one is beyond the reach of His mercy. No one is outside the loving embrace of the Immaculate Mother. Saint Teresa knew this. She saw people transformed by grace, who seemed utterly hopeless. She saw souls return to God after years of rebellion and sin, and she insisted that the one thing that opens the door to these miracles is prayer. Persistent, faithful, trusting prayer. So do not listen to the voice that tells you to give up. Listen instead to the voice of the Holy Spirit, whispering in your heart that all things are possible with God. Listen to the voice of Mary, telling you that she has not abandoned your child, and she never will. And keep praying, especially on the feast of the Immaculate Conception, because that is the day when heaven is most open to the cries of a mother's heart. Let's go deeper into what Saint Teresa understood about spiritual warfare. Because make no mistake, when you pray for a lost child, you are engaging in a battle. You are not fighting against your child. You are fighting against the forces of darkness that have taken hold of their heart. You are fighting against the lies, the deceptions, the addictions, the false promises that have led them astray. And the enemy does not give up easily. He will try to discourage you. He will try to make you think your prayers are pointless. He will whisper in your ear that God does not care, that Mary is not listening, that you are wasting your time. But Teresa would tell you that these thoughts are attacks. They are not the voice of God. They are the voice of the enemy, trying to stop you from praying because he knows how powerful your prayers are. The moment you feel like giving up is often the moment when you are closest to a breakthrough. So do not stop. Do not let the enemy win. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Keep offering your child to Mary every single day, and especially on the feast of the Immaculate Conception. There is a particular grace that comes with praying on special feast days. The Church has always recognized this. That is why we have liturgical seasons, why we celebrate specific days dedicated to the saints, why we mark certain moments in the calendar as times of special blessing. The Feast of the Immaculate Conception is one of those days. It is not just a nice tradition or a sentimental celebration. It is a day when the spiritual realm is uniquely charged with grace. And when you enter into that grace through prayer, through fasting, through offering your suffering, you are aligning yourself with the rhythm of heaven. You are stepping into a river of mercy that is flowing with particular strength on this day. And your child, even if they do not know it, is being swept up in that same river. The grace you are accessing on their behalf is real. It is powerful, and it is working, even when you cannot see it. So mark this day on your calendar. Make it a priority. Set aside time to go to Mass, to pray the Rosary, to spend time in adoration. And when you do, know that you are not praying alone. Mary is praying with you. The angels are praying with you. The entire communion of saints is praying with you. And together, you are storming the gates of heaven on behalf of the child you love. Here is a truth that might bring you comfort. Your child is never beyond the reach of God's love. Even in their worst moments, even when they are actively rejecting Him, even when they are doing things that horrify you, God is still pursuing them. He is still calling them. He is still waiting for the moment when they will turn back to Him. And your prayers are part of that pursuit. Every time you pray, you are cooperating with God's plan to bring your child home. You are joining your will to His will. You are saying yes to His work of redemption. And that yes matters. It matters more than you know, because God has chosen to work through the prayers of His people. He has chosen to involve us in the work of salvation. And when a mother prays for a lost child, she is not just asking God to do something. She is participating in the divine work of bringing a soul back to life. That is not a small thing. That is one of the most important things you will ever do. So even when it feels like your prayers are going nowhere, even when you see no evidence of change, trust that God is using them. Trust that they are accomplishing something in the spiritual realm that you cannot yet see. Saint Teresa often spoke about the importance of humility in prayer. She taught that we should never approach God with arrogance or presumption, as if we have the right to demand answers. But she also taught that we should approach Him with confidence, knowing that He is a loving Father who delights in giving good gifts to His children. When you pray for your lost child, bring both of these attitudes to your prayer. Bring humility, acknowledging that you do not know the best way forward, that you do not have all the answers, that you need God's wisdom and guidance. But also bring confidence, knowing that God loves your child even more than you do, that He desires their salvation even more than you do, and that He will move heaven and earth to bring them home. This balance of humility and confidence is the heart of Christian prayer, and it is especially important when you are praying for something as painful and uncertain as the conversion of a lost child. You do not have to pretend to be strong. You do not have to hide your tears. You do not have to put on a brave face. Just come as you are, with all your fear and doubt and pain, and place it all in the hands of the Immaculate Mother. She knows what to do with it. She knows how to transform it into grace. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to leave you with a final thought. The story of your child is not over. No matter how dark things seem right now, no matter how far they have wandered, no matter how many years have passed, the story is not over. God is still writing it, and He is writing it with a love that is patient, persistent, and completely unstoppable. Your prayers on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception are part of that story. They are part of the divine narrative that is unfolding, even when you cannot see it. And one day, when your child finally comes home, when they finally turn their face back to God, you will look back and see how every prayer, every tear, every sleepless night was woven into the tapestry of grace that brought them back. You will see that nothing was wasted, nothing was in vain, and you will understand, perhaps for the first time, that God really was listening all along. He really did care, and He really did use your love, your pain, your faithfulness to accomplish something beautiful. So do not give up. Do not stop praying. Do not lose hope, because the Immaculate Mother is holding your child in her heart, and she will not let go until they are safely home.